Hey listeners, Mallory Wilsey here, Chief Producer of the Enrollify Network. I get the privilege of working alongside all of the creators at Enrollify, and I want to take just a moment to tell you about why I love I Want to Work There, a podcast hosted by Eddie Francis. In an era where attracting and keeping talent is more crucial and complex than ever, I Want to Work There dives deep into how colleges and universities can stand out as top employers. Whether you're involved in HR, leadership, or just keen on the dynamics of higher ed employment, this podcast is your new go-to resource. Join Eddie Francis as he tackles the pressing issues of employee recruitment and retention and offers actionable insights for positioning your institution as an employer where everyone wants to work. You can subscribe to the show by visiting podcast.enrollify.org or just search I Want to Work There wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to In Your Element, the podcast that unlocks practical wisdom in higher education, where leadership meets real talk. I'm Brendan Hinkle, Manager of Solutions Engineering here at Element451.
And I'm Daniela Norden, Element451's Director of Customer Success and Engagement. Join us every other Thursday for discussions with everyday heroes using Element451 in enrollment, marketing, and student success. We'll unlock the practical tips to help you make waves on your campus.
In Your Element is a part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher education professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org or check out some of my personal favorites linked in the show notes below.
Enrollify is made possible by Element451, the leading AI-powered all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.
All right, Eric, good morning. Welcome to In Your Element. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Daniela. I'm excited to be here. This is I guess my second podcast ever. So,
Wow, I'm honored. I'm always excited to talk to you, but I'm especially excited to talk to you today. But I feel like whenever we get together, we both sort of turn into CRM strategists, right? Which is kind of like our background. So maybe you could just start by telling everybody how you got to be VP of product, because I know you've got CRM background and also higher ed background. So tell them how you boomeranged and how you got here.
I started my career in higher education in student affairs first, actually. And I think student affairs is an awesome place for people to start. Everybody should have to do a tranche in student activities or residential life or what have you, I think, to be really, really great at higher education. But I spent 7 years in campus life and residence life. My very first job was actually student conduct, which I'm old enough that back then we still called it judicial affairs. And then I took a little break from higher education and did fundraising and some other things as well, and came back to higher education and enrollment management, where I did a lot of digital transformation at the institution. I did another 7 years at a small liberal arts college in New Jersey, and brought them their first online file reading system, brought them their first CRM, which was not Element451, but later became Element451, which is actually where I first connected with artists and some of the leadership from their marketing company, Spark451. Left my on-campus role and joined Element for a short time, and then went off and did some consulting. As you said, I was a CRM strategist for a little while doing consulting work. Also did some CRM work at a Fortune 500 company, which was very different than higher education.
I bet.
But really insightful on how sort of, I don't want to say the other half, but how the other half lives, and then came back to Element after a couple other consulting gigs. So really excited to be here. I'm coming up on my, as you say, my boomerang anniversary of 2 years next month. So really excited to be back in the saddle and being part of all the great things we're doing at Element.
I really liked digital transformation. I'm going to steal that because I think that's the first time I've heard you say that. But we have a tradition on the podcast where we ask people when you feel like you're in your element in the work that you do. And would you say it's around that digital transformation piece? It's very on brand for the VP of product.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly digital transformation can take a lot of forms, but I think really when you boil it down to the fundamentals, I'm most in my element when I'm solving problems,
Mm.
right? And that's also what we do, in product. We're a product company, and what we do at Element in general, right? But I also don't do that alone. So maybe not only do I like solving problems, but fundamentally, I'm also a people person. I guess that goes back to my student affairs background as well. So I get the great privilege of working with folks all across the company. Our product leadership team, our CEO, Artis, Chief Technology Officer, Petter, Ty, our partnerships organization, whether we're bringing in new partners, new institutions, new campuses into the platform. And of course, Daniela, you, Jamie, and the rest of the customer success team that I'm talking to literally every day. And you guys are on the front lines with our partners and providing us the feedback. But most excitingly is the times that I get to actually collaborate directly with our partners to better understand their challenges and ways that we can leverage Element to provide solutions for those challenges. And sometimes it's like, oh, you didn't know you could do that? Just do this. And other times it's a head scratcher that has us thinking about how we can improve the product to meet those challenges that folks are facing.
I think that's a really good answer. I have seen you stop solutioning, like stop yourself from trying to solution on the spot, right? I think that is like the default for you. And you have to be like, wait, no, like we got to stop. We got to think about this from this angle, from this angle. So I agree. I think that is when you are in your element. You gave me like three really good segues, and now I don't know where to go, Eric. Because you mentioned being on the front lines and working with partners. Let's go there. How do you get user feedback? How do you prioritize user feedback? What's an example of when you've gotten feedback and you've been able to make a difference or a change in the platform? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, feedback comes at us from all directions, right? We've got our online Element community where our community is interacting with each other, providing, well, this is how we do it. And maybe it's not exactly the solution that folks want, but it's what we call a workaround, right? It's a way to get it done, even if maybe it's not the most elegant solution in the world. Again, you and your team, Daniela, who provide feedback as you're working with our partners. And that's one of the benefits of being in a growth stage company. While we're no longer that super small, scrappy startup that we were when I was first here and we had, like 25 partners, we're still small enough where we can engage with that feedback. And then that of course, flows throughout our organization. And as I mentioned, also from the partnership team and direct feedback as well. So it comes from all places. We're always listening. We always have our ear to the ground. And we want to know what are those friction points for them, right? And how we might be able to help. As far as what do we do with all of that feedback, it's a little bit like drinking from a fire hose, right? So we have to prioritize it. And we also have to look at it from a couple of different angles. A lot of people think product management and what we do on the product team is about deciding what to do. And I really look at it a little differently. And what we really need to do is decide what not to do, right? So we look at that feedback and we focus in on a couple of factors. One is the impact, right? How big of an impact is this going to have across our entire user base? If it's something that's very niche to a particular organization or a particular type of organization or institution, we may say, hey, we don't have this particular piece. It's just not worth investing right now, right? So the impact, and then the other thing that we look at is time to impact, right? So what is the lift here? If we have 4 or 5 things that are all, a medium priority, and 4 of them are each a day's worth of work, but one of them is 2 weeks worth of work, we may actually decide that we're going to do those 4 things really, really quickly and get a broader impact, right? So that's just one of the ways that we decide. As far as an example of where this feedback has been really helpful for us, last year, about a year ago, we launched appointments.
I knew you were going to say appointments. I knew it. I planned it. Yes.
Oh, see, great minds,
Yes.
Daniela, great minds. We launched appointments. It was right around this time we announced it at Engage. And that was really as a direct response to feedback where the workaround was using events and having like a 1-person event, but it really didn't tie it to a staff member. So it wasn't really this connection between a student and a staff member or a faculty member. It was sort of like, okay, we've got this thing. They're financial aid assistance appointments, and, we're kind of hacking the events module to do that. It was a good experience. People did it for a number of years, but I would say it was about like an 85 or 90% solution when we look at that feedback and we built appointments to be, a solution specific to that problem. We're now at a whole new feature that's custom built for that problem. And the last thing I think I'll say about this, where we think about feedback and where we take the product, is we also need to tackle things that no one else is thinking about, right? Like, sure, hey, I want to be able to do this in events, or hey, I want to be able to accept appointments, or what have you. But one of the things we do in our product leadership team is think about those things that no one's asking about because they don't even know they want it yet, right? So think about our AI features. We started that AI journey almost 18 months ago now. Nobody now I'm going to do the math, November of 2022, when OpenAI said, hey, ChatGPT is here and developers can use it, none of our partners came to us and said, hey, we would really like, generative AI powered features within Element451, because they didn't even know they needed it, right? So we also need to bring in our own vision and our own experiences in EdTech and technology in general to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our partners, that needs they don't even know they have yet. So
it's so true. And I think it goes back to what you said about knowing what not to say yes to or what to say no to, right? Because our AI differentiates us from all other CRMs out there. And because you knew to prioritize it, or leadership, I solely think it was you. No, I know it was you and artists and a lot of the leaders knowing to prioritize that really made a difference. So you're setting me up so nicely here. This episode's going to drop after Engage. So can you spill some of the beans on some of the new features and those innovations and what we're doing with explain generative AI, do the
absolutely.
whole thing.
Absolutely. So generative AI, right? The concept of a reasoning engine that can look at your knowledge, understand what the questions or task at hand is, and then produce a result for you, right? So a year ago, we were talking our Bolt bot, which is our AI-powered chatbot, along with our Copilot, which is our kind of internal staff version of a chatbot that can help you accomplish certain tasks, can fetch data from the CRM, catch you up with, you can ask Copilot to catch you up, and it will go in and give you your tasks for the day and help you accomplish those tasks, right? So this year at Engage, we are giving our next evolution or our next generation of those concepts. And at this point, in our very short period, I don't know what generation we're on anymore. We keep rebuilding and making it better all the time. But this is really the next evolution, and we're calling them Bolt AI assistants. And these will really be the replacements for our older BoltBot and Copilot features.
Like the fact that that's even older, like 18 months, like that's wild to think about that, how much that's
And
changed.
some of this is replacing stuff we did like at the beginning of this year. So
So
like 6 months ago. And that's like the older, outdated tech,
that's
right?
wild.
Student AI assistants will sort of revamp that chatbot experience and will allow you to create individual assistants or bots, if you will, that are experts in their field. Right now, BoltBot is designed to be kind of this omnipresent, all-knowing, all-seeing, useful tool. But what that means is when it's consuming all of the knowledge simultaneously and it's very generic, it can get confused. It can give you an answer for international student admissions when you wanted an answer for domestic student admissions, because it's sort of all over the place, and it's got to consume that knowledge, decide what is the most relevant knowledge it has for the answer, and deliver it.
Yeah, it's a generalist, not like a
It's a
specialist, right?
generalist.
Yes, yeah. My whole career, I've been a generalist, so I identify with BoltBot. Yeah.
Exactly. So what BoltBot is becoming is a series of specialists, right? So we'll have the ability to have an admissions assistant, a financial aid assistant, a athletics assistant, a student life assistant. And what this will ultimately do is allow you to further curate the knowledge, further curate the events and appointments that this particular bot has access to, and allow them to be an expert in their field, so that international student assistant or admissions assistant will never be confused by the domestic admissions process, because we won't give it access to that knowledge. So it really gives fine-grained control for our partners to be able to do to really control how these interact. But the other thing that assistance does is it gives the assistants more of a persona, right? We've actually named all of ours in sort of our testing, where, our athletics assistant is Coach Carter, and our financial aid assistant is this guy named Finley. And it gives a little more of a human touch, but it also allows us to look at mirroring how we work on campus, right? There is no one, or usually no one, on a campus that knows everything. We have specialists. You call the financial aid office, you get a financial aid answer. Maybe someone in admissions can help you with that. But if you get into a real deep conversation, you're going to a specialist. But because these assistants know about each other, they can hand off, just like they would hand off, a human would hand off to my colleague in financial aid. So we're really excited about this. We think students will enjoy the experience a little bit more, because it's a little more personified, it's a little more personal, and they'll ultimately get the results that they want.
And it's huge we've talked to a couple of partners who use BoltBot, the time that's saved with BoltBot. This is going to be huge on the staff and on the internal side too, and being able to answer those questions quicker, more directly, like when students expect them, and let the staff focus on some of those more personal, high touch interactions.
Absolutely. And this is where generative AI shines, right? Is back on my days of working on a campus, when I was really front facing, right, during a housing process. You spend all day answering the same email, answering the same question on the phone. We didn't have live chat back in the day, but you're just regurgitating the same. Okay, drop off your form. It's due, this time, or you submit your housing lottery by this time, by this time, by this time, by this time, and you're not actually engaging with students. You're just regurgitating knowledge that an assistant in this case can really provide to them. So that's a little bit about assistance. We have we've transformed our Copilot feature with specialized assistants internally as well, rebuilt our campaign builder that allows you to build whole campaigns in minutes. So you can go into your AI assistant and say, hey, my nursing program is under enrolled for the semester that starts in 4 weeks. Give me a 4 week campaign to students who have started an application but not submitted. And within minutes, you'll have a 4 or 5 message campaign built, designed. And what we've done there is taken what was previously a generalist and added a bunch of specialists. So we have an art director that goes into your media library and picks out the right image for that particular campaign, a copywriter that is very specifically writing the copy, and an orchestrator that puts it all together and installs it for you in Element. So the amount of time that that can save, right? When I was enrollment management doing CRM marketing, just building those campaigns were days with 5 and 6 of us working on, well, what should the subject line be and what should the content be and so on and so forth. So you literally do that in minutes now in Element. That's sort of our AI assistants. We've got another great AI tool, Bolt Discovery, around transforming knowledge discovery and sharing. Think about your website search experience on your institutional site. You go in, you type in, nursing or biology or computer science, whatever, and the program page may not actually even be the first hit, right? Sometimes God knows what you're going to end up with, and you're hunting and pecking trying to find the content you want. Bolt Discovery takes this generative AI experience and just flows that information from your knowledge base, from your campus website, and directs it based on the question that the student asked, so variations of the question, and then prompts cool follow-ups, right? So if you ask about a particular program, you might get prompted with a follow-up question of, what are the career opportunities there? You click on that and you continue this conversational dialogue of discovery and knowledge sharing. First time I interacted with it after we got it into testing, I spent like 25 minutes just clicking on the follow-up questions. So I'm kind of calling it the 2020s version of the Wikipedia rabbit hole, right? Where you just click and click and click, and you're getting so much information. And this is information that I would never have spent time consuming on a traditional website.
Yeah, because it's personal to you, right? Like it feels
Right.
like it knows you. So it's that algorithm working. It's like, yeah, that's wild.
But we're not just AI all the time. So we've got a couple of other great things coming, mostly focused around getting Element in a better position to support our friends doing more student success type engagement. So we have lots of our partners who are using Element right now, and our conversations module and our AI and our campaigns module to interact with current students. But we really want to bring more first party solutions in that area. So we have a new student portal coming to Element451, looking to unify the student experience. Initially, it will be designed around kind of our key features of appointments, being able to chat with your AI assistants, as well as Bolt Discovery that I just talked about. But then we'll be evolving that over time to add things like course data, which we are actually working on right now as we speak. I just came out of a meeting this morning around how we're building our course data structure to have that be able to be imported into Element in a first party way, both data from your SIS and potentially from your LMS as well. So you'll have not only, hey, Daniela is in, English 101, section 31. They also last logged into the LMS, a week ago. And what this is really setting us up for is what we call early success, not early alerts. Not a bunch of manual lever pullers that go, oh, gee, I haven't seen Daniela in 2 weeks, and maybe it'll be another 3 days before I remember to put in that alert. But we can actually use the data we already have to start bubbling up to Daniela that she may need to take action, or that staff members might need to take action. So we're really excited about where that course data model is going and is going to allow us to do, and the solutions around early success and student success there. And the last thing I'll tease, because I know you and I have talked about this a lot, that will help student success, is the idea of validated forms, where students will validate their identity first and then be able to submit basically a closed form. So if this is like a request for services or a request for help, we can get people what they need and know who they are, and they're an established account in Element already.
It's so much, Eric. Like it's so much in such a short period of time. It's huge, huge strides. Like I cannot think of anybody else who's doing this on this level and who's agile enough to do this on this level, right? Like this is insane. An insane amount of features and updates that are coming. So everybody,
And that's not even the whole list.
that's not even the whole, it's not even the whole list. That's not even the whole list. That's wild. What's next, right? Like, how do you stay ahead? How do you know what's coming in these next cycle, and this next, feature releases? What do you, what, how? I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So we actually use, if anyone's familiar with, product development or product development, we, a lot of times you'll hear the term like sprints or the agile methodology or what have you. We actually use a slightly different methodology here at Element. It's called Shape Up. It's by the guys who developed Basecamp, the Basecamp product. And what that does is actually focuses on what we call 6-week cycles with a 2-week cool down. So in those 6-week cycles, we focus on kind of bigger features and pick the things that we want to work on in that cycle. And then during the cool down, we kind of reset, give our devs a little bit of a break by working on things that they can pick from the list. So those are like the smaller improvements or smaller bug fixes, but they're problems that they're interested in solving, and we'll jump in and do some of that. So that's the methodology we work on. And we are constantly reprioritizing based on feedback, based on trends and what's happening out there. Again, we didn't know in November of 2022 how earth-shaking the OpenAI stuff was going to be to our product. And if we had said, well, we've got a year-long roadmap here that we can't change, we would not be where we are today. So we take things in a very small chunks. We sort of have our long-term vision of where we're going, but the path we take to get there may change several times between here and the destination.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you see looking ahead, right? What are some of those future trends that you got your eye on?
Well, I think it will surprise no one that AI is not going anywhere. It is not a flash in the pan. It is not something that is just going to evaporate. It is here to stay. And I think we will continue to lean into continuing to develop that, incorporating it in additional places in our platform, both for students to take advantage of and make their lives easier and better, but also those that work on our campuses. Because the other thing that probably won't change is the resource problem in higher education. So if we can augment our existing teams with great AI tools, and great AI tools that are not generic, right? Yes, you could go to ChatGPT and you could say, write me an email about this, right? Thing in higher education. But what would happen? You'd have to take that information and then bring it into your CRM, bring it into Element. So we want to make that all first party, right? And be able to have it be just a seamless interaction with all the elements of Element451. So really excited there. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we're working on other pieces to expand the usefulness of Element451 in other populations of students. As I said, we have lots of folks using us in the current student sphere, but we really want to build some additional first-party solutions there for sure.
I love that. All right, one final question for you, Eric. You've been on both sides of the fence. You've been on college, you've been as a consultant, and now you're developing products. What's a practical advice or a tip that you have for some partners who are looking to, I'll say, enhance their recruitment or just do better, right? Like their
Yeah,
recruitment
yeah,
and enrollment strategies.
yeah. I think I've got two that
Okay.
I would
I'll
share
take
real
two.
quickly.
I'll take two.
And one is actually one of our mantras here at Element, is one of our cornerstones, which is progress before perfection, right? It is okay not to be able to do everything you want
Mm,
to be able to do in your strategy, right? So I think back to my enrollment marketing days, and I think of all the ideas that I set aside because there just wasn't capacity to do them. So it's okay to build the most comprehensive plan, even if it's unachievable, right? Even if you know you don't have the resources to do that whole plan, it allows you to kind of see the vision and then do exactly what we do here in Element on the product side, right? Decide what you're not going to do based on resources and capacity, and what is most important to accomplish. And you can then take the next evolution later, but don't shortchange the plan. Just work towards it and progress towards it.
I think that's such a good tip. I'm going to interrupt before you do the second one
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
mind boggling for our partners to think like that. I just came from an on site with a partner where I was like, take the tools, take the technology, take the budget out of it, and just tell us what an ideal state would look like. We can't promise that we'll get there, but knowing what you want and what that looks like is so important to figuring out how to get there. So I think that is a great tip, and I will second that tip. Yes.
Absolutely. And I think as a product guy, and as a guy who's done consulting in the past, I think the other thing that I've seen be problematic at institutions is not embracing your tools
Mm,
and not being prepared to change,
mm.
right? All of this stuff, AI, Element 451, your LMS, whatever other software technology or non software technology tools you're using, embrace them. Know that they're there to make the process better and easier, but that may also mean you have to be prepared to change. Right. When I launched digital file reading, for the first time in my career, we were going from an office where the director of admissions was going to, well, we called it the garden level, where operations was, but it was the basement of the building, um, and went downstairs and counted file folders in a milk crate.
Wow.
Right now, this was in 2012. It's not that long. Well, I guess it's 12 years ago now, but you know,
Still,
but but even at that time, that was not digital file reading was a thing in 2012, right? It
right.
was not like we
Absolutely.
were that we were on the cutting edge there developing that. And when we launched digital file reading, we needed to change some of the things that how we read files, how we exchanged information. And bigger than deploying the tool was the change management that came with
Hmm.
getting the staff to understand that it's okay that you're not going to have, your yellow bin, your blue bin, and your red bin anymore. You're going to have this other way of doing things, and really getting people to understand that change is hard, but you can embrace those tools and leverage them to make everything better for your institution.
That's both excellent, excellent tips. And I think it applies to our partners when they sign on with us too, because you're changing a whole tool, technology, and process. And with that comes change management. And it cannot be understated how important that piece is for adoption, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Eric, this has been so great. I always enjoy talking to you. We could do this every week, because every week you're releasing something new, it feels like anyway. So feel free to come
We've
back.
always got something.
Feel free to come back and share with us, but I really appreciated the time. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we only, I don't know, half hour or whatever we're on here, 35 minutes. Um, Our product keynote at Engage is 75 minutes.
Oh, yes.
So we go into a lot more depth into that. So after you've listened to this episode, go on over to the Element website and you can catch recordings if you weren't with us at Engage, which we will be sad if you weren't, and see even more detail of some of the stuff we talked about today.
And then get ready to use it because it'll be coming.
And then get ready to use it because a lot of it will be out. Some of it will be out in the next few weeks as well. So
that's awesome. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thanks, Danielle. I appreciate it.
In Your Element is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too.
Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional.
Our shows help higher ed marketers and enrollment professionals find their next big idea and feature a selection of the industry's best as your host. Learn from Mallory Wilsey, Artis Kadu, Maya Demishkovich, and so many other of your favorite leaders in higher ed.
Enrollify is made possible by Element451, the leading AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful, personalized, and engaging interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.